Hello. Continuing going through and re-recording all of my solution videos for all my puzzles, which is a bit overkill in some ways, but I've said this in all the other ones that I've redone so far that I included hints in the puzzles here, which you can click on individually to reveal, and figured it would be a good idea to have the solution videos redone in a way that is guided by the hints. So there'll be chapter markers shortly after I upload this. Where you can kind of jump around to where the hints are relevant in the solve, so that way you can follow along and pause whenever a hint is about to come up. Granted, I'll still be solving the puzzle linearly regardless, but it means that if you just want to know kind of where the next hint is going to come up in the solve, you don't have to spoil yourself by clicking on it here to see. You can just keep watching the video or keep solving until you reach the point that the puzzle is at in the solution video. So, let's open this up. One of the other updates I did recently was adding versions of these puzzles that have extra abbreviations on colored lines, that way colorblind, more accessible for colorblind people. So I'll do that version here. It's not really super duper necessary in this puzzle that much, but there's only one or two types of lines, but yeah. So the description has a little story. It says, English speakers learn to dot your I's and cross your T's when learning how to write, but I think that people really miss out on the fun of learning how to dot your V's as well. Unfortunately, this grid missed that lesson at school, and the dots are a bit separated from the V's. Perhaps if you solve this puzzle, you'll be able to learn what secrets are contained within dotted V's. It's obviously just a silly little nod at the fact that there's going to be a lot of V's and dots in this puzzle. So, but there's a very specific interaction between them that's relevant. So, in fact, that's actually half of what hint number 1 is. Hint 1 nudges by saying there is a specific interaction involving black dots and V's that is of importance here. And then says, to start you out, think about whether it's possible for a 1 to go on a black dot. And so that will get you on the right frame of mind, so to speak. So, we think of a V, it's going to be 1, 4, 2, 3. So there's 2 options for that. Black dots basically can be anything except 5, 7, 9, because it could be a 1, 2. It could be a 2, 4, 4, 8, or a 3, 6. So it's a little silly sometimes to pencil mark all the options on a black dot here. But we'll see, it's actually going to come in handy in a second. Let's also pencil mark the cage over here. This is either 3, 9, 4, 8, 5, 7. There's a couple of options here that don't work because 5 and 7 can't go on the black dot. So this cage just cannot be 5, 7 at all, because either way you'd end up with something breaking the black dot. You also can't have a 9 here, so 3 is not on that side. So that leaves this to either be 6, 4, 8, or potentially a 2, because this could go 2, 4, 8 that way. In fact, it actually can't be a couple other options there, because if we had an 8 here, this would be a 4. That would then also need to be an 8. Similarly, if you had a 4 here, that would be 8, and then that would also need to be 4. So in reality, this can only be 2 or 6. And that, then in turn, means that this will never be a 4, or an 8, rather, because there's nothing for it to be halved up here. So there's really only a couple ways this can go. It's either going to be 2, 4, 8, or 6, 3, 9, like that. So there's a lot of work you can do initially over here to reduce this, just by that combination. This cage as well has 3 options. We can't immediately remove things from that quite yet, but we will be able to shortly. So back to the hint. So it says, first to start, could 1 ever go on a black dot here? And like in isolation, surely it could, because 1, 2 is no problem with that. But the fact that it sees a V, if we did 1, 2 here, what would you put on this? You'd have to put a 3, 4, and that doesn't sum to 5. So that doesn't work because we're using up too many of these really low digits. So considering if this is a 1, it has to be paired with a 2. This can never have a 1 on either side of the dot. And so hopefully you have the intuition to now ask, well, maybe there's other digits that can't appear. So maybe 2 would be similar. So if we did a 2, that would have to go with a 4. And that would leave us with 1 and 3 left over here, which, again, doesn't work. So that's the core of this puzzle, and that's what hint 2 explains. So hint 2 says, black dots that see a V can never have a 1 or a 2 on them. And by see a V, we mean that it's in the same box, row, so if there was another V over here, it would have the same property between them. Or column, if this was vertically oriented like this one. If we find a V somewhere else in this column, we'd immediately have been able to say that this couldn't have a 2 on it then. And it says, when factoring in the 2 options for V's, we can also say that a black dot and a V combined will always have both a 3 and a 4 among them. Because there's sort of 2 ways you can unfold this. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 6, 8. So we could either have 1, 4, and then 3, 6, or 2, 3 on the top, and then 4, 8 underneath. You notice either way, there's both a 3 and a 4 there, or a 3 and a 4 here. So no matter which way you unfold these clues, 3 and 4 are used up. So that allows us to take out some options from the 11 cage. You can't have 3, 8, and you can't have 4, 7. And so that unfortunately still does leave 2 ways to unfold all these options here, and that's the final part of hint 2, saying that this reveals that box 5 as a whole has 2 ways it can unfold, and one of them leads to a problem when factoring in box 4's information, which is this stuff over here. So if we look at each individual case here, we can test one at a time. So if we test with, let's say, 5, 6. If we have, actually no, let's start with 2, 9. If we have 2, 9 here, then this becomes 1, 4, and that becomes 3, 6. That then leaves, what's left over here? We need 4, 5, and, no, not 4, 5, 7, 5, 7, and 8 down here. So if we were to have 5, 7, and 8 pointing over here, that would need to become a 3, a 9. That would need to become a 3. That would then need to become a 6. That is a problem, because if this were to be a 6, it can't be a 6, because we just said there's a 3, 6 on the black dot here. So that breaks the puzzle. So we can undo all that and say that was based on if the cage here had 2, 9 in it. So we now know it cannot have 2, 9 in it. So this now is going to allow us to make progress, because we now know the 6 is used up over here. So the 6 is not on the black dot. Black dot is now using 4, 8, which means this is now not using a 4. That must be using 2, 3. And so that now leaves us with 1, 7, and 9 left over here. So now that takes out 9 from here, so we know for sure this is going to be 8. That must be 4 to make the cage work, and then that must be a 2 above it. So that is our break-in for this. It's a fair bit of looking ahead, and a bit of tedious kind of pencil marking in some regards. I like it. You know, the whole original concept I had for this really was I learned about the V-dot combination when solving a different puzzle, and I just wanted to make a puzzle that requires you to take advantage of it right from the start. And I wanted to have the break-in be interesting, so. Now we have a couple other stuff over here to deal with. So up here we have another dot and another V over here. It's partially obscured, but we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can right away say the same property is going to hold here. You cannot have a 1 or a 2 on this dot. So this is again either 3, 6, or 4, 8. And there's a V over here with it. 14 cages only have 2 options. It's either 5, 9, or 6, 8. We can't have a 5 or a 6 on the left half here. So we can't have an 8 or a 9 on the right half. So now, this is a little trickier to see. It's the same kind of idea, sort of, but you have to think about the fact that either way the black dot unfolds, we're going to be making one of these options kind of disappear, so to speak. If this was a 3, 6 black dot, this would not be able to be 6, 8. If this was a 4, 8 black dot, it also would not be able to be 6, 8. So another way of seeing that is the 6, 8 option for the cage. Either way, the black dot is using one of those. So this will never be a 6, 8 cage. That must be 5, 9, and we know the order, 9 and then 5. So that now reveals a little bit of stuff down here. We have the beginning of a quadruple clue. Oh, I didn't actually go over the rules earlier. Oh well. I guess we can briefly do that now. I'm not re-recording the beginning at this point. That's dumb, but I'm not redoing this again. But no, it's normal circuit rules, obviously. Fog, ratio pairs, XV pairs. These are all standard rules. I'm going to assume that people are familiar with most of these, but obviously we have black dot and V's. We already went over those. Killer cages, use those. German whispers, that's new over here. So adjacent digits on a green line must have a difference of at least 5. So whatever this is, this would need to be at least 5 away from it. Renban, we haven't revealed any of those yet. I'll point that out when they show up. And then quadruple. So I haven't used quadruples, I think, before in a puzzle, so it's new here, but fairly easy to understand. We can see part of it here, so that's just saying that 7 must appear in these 4 over here, so we can pencil mark that. Anyways, so now we have a bunch of stuff over here. We have an X, V, a dot, and a German whisper line. So that's 1, 2, 3, or 4. That makes the other half of this X a 6, 7, 8, 9. We have another black dot. Once again, it can't have 1 or 2 on it, so that's either 3, 6, or 4, 8. And the important spot down here is less of what can a single, like, certain cell be, and more about there's a certain digit that can only go in one spot in this box. So that's kind of a pseudo hint here. So maybe think about that for a moment. And then you can unpause and continue. And I will point out that 5 in this box must go there, because 5 doesn't go anywhere on those. And you cannot put a 5 onto a German whisper line because you can't put things that are 5 away from it. So 5 just has to go here. That reveals a new X clue up here. Now this is more of a classic Sudoku deduction. Even though we have the X here, we are using that, but if we think of what could this X be, it's either 19283746. That seems overkill, but it can't be 28 or 37 because that would break the V. So it's either 19 or 46. And now to follow that up, we can notice the fact that we have 8, 4 looking over, 4 and 8 looking over. So 4 and 8 must appear up here, and we cannot have the 8 be on the X. So 8 must go there. And in turn, we could say the 4 then must go on the X with a 6 pair with it. So 4 and 6 look over means that's not 6, so that's 5 and 6. And the 8 looks down and says this is now a 3, 6. So that's going to unfold this. This now can't be 2, 3. So that is now 9 or 6, but we've already used up 6 down here, so that is 9, 1, 4. And it leaves us with 2, 7, and 8 left over for the German whisper. And we know that this is 1 low digit and 2 highs, so we're going to have the low digit in between the 2 highs. So the 2 must go in the corner of the German whisper there. But that works its way back up here. And that resolves all that, and now we get another V and black dot revealed over in this column here. This is now 3, 6, or 4, 8, and you notice this one's a little bit different because I immediately have this be resolvable. You already know right away that is a 3, 6 dot, so that is a 1, 4, V. So you might question, like, why was that easy? And that's because the next thing you actually have to do depends on that information. And the difficulty wasn't just, like, working out the black dot and V combo, it's actually using that V and black dot combo to get another digit somewhere else. That sounds a lot more, like, complicated than it really is. But that is what hint 3 involves. Hint 3 says, if you're struggling after revealing the dot and V in column 1, pay attention to where digits can go in column 1. There's a sneaky hidden single that must be found to continue. So what a hidden single is when you have a row, column, or box where there's only one position for a certain digit within it. So this 5 was an example of a hidden single because within this box, that was the only place where 5 is valid. That's different from, say, a naked single, where you could have something, I can't really demonstrate it here, but naked single is when you have a single cell that can only be one thing. So, like, if this was determined to just be 3, because everything else was used up elsewhere, looking down at it, that would be a naked single. I think I just typed a 3 there, and that just happened to work by complete chance. That's kind of crazy. We will prove that logically at some point in the future of this puzzle. But column 1 is important for that, so you kind of have to look and just see what digit is forced into, I guess, only one spot here. And so, this is a 1, 4, that's 8, 3, 6. 2 can't go in the corner down here. 2 can't go in these spots of the column because it's locked out of there. So the only spot where 2 can go in this entire column is in the top left up here. And that's our sneaky little hidden single that was mentioned. That resolves the V over here, which in turn partially resolves the black dot. We at least know it's a 3, 6 now. That gives us 6 and 4 over there. We also get more information from the quadruple. We get 1 and 4. 4 can't go on the left half. And then finally we get another V and another black dot here, which once again resolves itself. That is a 4, 8 black dot, which makes that a 2, 3 V. This being a 2, 3 V means that is not a 3. That's a 6 and a 3. There's no more hints left in the puzzle. This is all just solution at this point, because this is mostly just standard variant Sudoku logic at this point. But I will point out Renban rule has a slight weirdness to it here. First of all, digits placed on a purple line must be a non-repeating set of consecutive digits in any order. In this puzzle, Renban lines may not leave the box they are discovered in. So that is saying that this, well, obviously we can see it doesn't go down anywhere here, and it doesn't go up to any of those spots. But we can say that if this, say, bends over here, it can't just, like, go up here and then leave the box. At most, it would just go here. But we can see we can prove a little more than that just based on the available digits in the box. Because we need 1, 7, 8, 9 left over. Oh, not 9. What is it? 4. 1, 4, 7, 8 left over in the box here. So, you kind of have to ask yourself, well, what could this Renban possibly be? Knowing that it has to be a consecutive set of digits, there's no way to make 1 consecutive with anything else in the box that isn't already used, because we're using up 2 and 3 over here. So, 1's definitely not on the Renban. Similar for 4. If you try to put 4 with anything else in the box, it would have to go to the left and pick up a 3, or go up and pick up a 5 at some point. And it's not doing either of those. So that can't be a 4. And so that leaves behind only 7 and 8 to go on the Renban. Now, if you were to just look at the options a second ago, you could have spotted that quicker by just seeing 7 and 8 are the only 2 that are consecutive. And that of those 4 numbers, the only 2 that even could be in any sort of pair would be 7, 8. That proves that the line does not just like U-shape around here, because there's no way for the 7, 8 to pick up 1 and 4 in any way. So this just is the extent of the Renban. We can say that because we know it doesn't leave the box and pick up more digits out here somewhere. So this is 7, 8. So that's no longer an 8. That must be 4 and 8. 7, 8 also takes out a 7 from here. The 1, 4 takes out 1 from there. And that leaves 1 and 7 in this column, a pair over here. Can't be 1 from the row, so that's 7 and 1, 9, 7. And that reveals the final portion of our quadruple clue, which I'm going to change to corner center pencil marks now. 5's not on the top, 4's not on the left. And it leaves us with 3 digits left in the box. So we need 2, 8, and 9, looks like. Yes, that has to be 9, that has to be 8, that has to be 2. Some other weak spots I'm looking for. This column needs 2 things. We need a 5 and a 7, so that's 7 and 5. And this row up here is missing only 2 things. We need a 7 and an 8. We know the order of that. And that now bounces back down and takes out 7 from this half of the quadruple, and it gives us 1, 5. And that reveals a cage. So we have 4, 9, 5, 8, 6, 7. Can't be 4, 9, can't be 5, 8. So this must be 6, 7, pointing down. Gives us 8, 7, 4, 8, 4, 7, which gives us the remaining bit of the quadruple, and that fills in our final clue being revealed up here. It revealed a black dot on the bottom of this Renban. That cannot be a 7, because you can't put that on a black dot, so that must be 8, 4, 1, 7, 6, 7 over here, 1, 4 over here. And this is all just going to unfold, just normal classic Sudoku logic now. So let's go over here. We need 2, 5, 8, 9. 2's not there. 8's not in any of those, so 8 is definitely over here. This column needs 1 and 2. The remaining options here are 3, 5, 7, 9. 7 and 9 are not on the bottom, so 3, 5's not on the top. That's 9, 7 in that order. That gives us 5 over here. 3, 5 there. These rows are only missing 1 thing. This needs a 3. That needs, let's see, 6. And then here we need a 1 and a 9. Finally up here, we need 3, 5, 6, 9. So that's 3, 6, 9, 5. This is why you leave conflict checker on. It's so much quicker to do this step. We've already done the work of kind of tallying up what digits are needed in certain spots. It's just a time saver, in my opinion. Finally, we need some work down here. This row needs 3, 5, 6. 5 and 6 are taken out from there, so that's now a 3, 6 pair in this row because of these. So that is 5. This row already has a 3, 6 pair, so this is only 2 remaining digits here. We need 2 and 9 left over, so that's 2 and 9 like that. That gives us 3, 2. 6 here, and that's going to resolve these black dots. And leaves us with 2 digits left, and that is 1 on the left and 3 on the right. And yay, we are done with this. So this is one of the more favorites, I guess, of the ones I've made. It's probably not the favorite anymore. It was for a while. It's probably not quite that high anymore, but I do quite like it as far as this was the first time I sort of intentionally designed an entire puzzle around a specific interaction. In this case, the V and black dot combination. So I quite like that, and sort of my history as a Sudoku setter. And as you can see, I've kind of gone through this one quite a bit in the past, so most of these are pretty easy for me to talk through because I vividly remember what I was thinking of, but I go back and actually solve this one myself pretty often just because I find it fun. So, yeah. So, hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.